Hey guys, how you going? Michael Crawford back again. Sorry I haven't been making many videos lately. It's been school holidays. I've got the kids at home with me, and I've taken time off to sort of spend a bit of time with them, and just been busy and, you know, usual sort of run around as it is for most people these days. Anyway, today I wanted to have a quick talk about this Fujifilm XF 60mm lens, 2.4. It's a macro lens, or it's sold as a macro. I've just had mine repaired actually. I did do a video about how that went, that experience, sending away something to Fujifilm and getting it repaired. So that's an interesting thing. Anyway, I was going to talk to you about this lens. I believe this is one of the most underrated lenses in the Fujifilm system. Nobody seems to be terribly interested in it. It does have a couple of negatives, and I can understand that that would be sort of swinging people away from it. And there also is another really good macro lens in the Fujifilm range. Now, when I say that this is a macro lens, I just want to clarify that it's actually not a true macro lens, in that it doesn't go to 1:1, which is what a lot of people would say a macro lens is. If you actually defining a macro lens, they would say, oh, it's got to go 1:1, and this doesn't go 1:1. It goes very close. I'm not sure exactly how close. Close enough for Fujifilm to call it a macro lens. In the true sense of the word, it's not a macro lens, but it doesn't worry me. And yeah, I've had this lens for a long time now. I got this lens when it first came out. Or probably not exactly when it exactly first came out, but pretty early in the game I got a XT10 and this lens and the 27. Why did I get those lenses? I read reports and other reviews on them, and basically a lot of people spoke about them, and I decided that those were the lenses that I wanted to get at the time. So it's an interesting lens. It's, you know, typical Fujifilm quality, apart from my breaking. I did a video on that. And so it comes with this large metal hood, which is, you know, it's really quite large. It's even got a ring in the middle there. I don't know if you can see. It's got like a step in. I don't know why. And then look at the lens element, the center element. I don't know if you can see that. It'll pop right out, goes in and out. You know, it'll go a long throw when it's got to focus on something close like that. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and get it to focus on my hand. Or this. Anyway, anyway, I tried to get it to come out, but you can see how much that inside element actually comes out. It protrudes about, you know, probably about 3/4 of an inch out. It'll pop out and then go back in, trying to find focus. It's an interesting lens in that it's you know, not tiny, but it's got like the center bit that comes in and out. That's where the filter goes. That's a 39mm filter, which is a really small little filter for, you know, a lens that you wouldn't expect it to be like that. And it's got this great big sunshade, which actually is really effective and really good. Sunshade is really important if you're taking photos. You don't want light or glare from, you know, strong light sources such as the sun or anything else, even, you know, strong lights in a room reflecting onto your lens, because they're going to sort of create a haze, and that's not a good thing. It only goes down to 2.4, which some would say is not very fast at all, but I would say that's average. I mean, it's not super fast, but it's fast enough for most things. So the build quality is all metal. It's got a 39mm filter thread. It's got the manual aperture ring like most Fujifilm cameras. I'm not really super happy with the build quality of this lens. I wouldn't say it's up there with other Fujifilm lenses. This one seems to be a little bit dicky. I know how it works inside here. It's got like, it's hard to describe, but it's got pins that go onto the aperture as it turns, and it's got strips of metal which it rolls over, and it picks up the position of the aperture, and mine seems to be just a little bit rough. But anyway, still it's working now, and that was a bit of a pain when it broke. It actually broke during a photo shoot I was doing with a model, and I was quite surprised. Actually, I was trying to, you know, get it to go down to 2.4, and it was only getting stuck at f4 and 5.6 sometimes, and it wouldn't go to 2.4, and I was really frustrated. I didn't know what was going on with it, and eventually I worked out that the actual lens was stuffed. So anyway, sent it off, got it repaired. In use, this lens does not have any sort of image stabilization, so it's just your standard 60mm lens, which is equivalent to around 90mm in the full frame sector, and if you convert the 2.4, it's probably going up to about f4 equivalent depth of field. Just wait for the plane. So one of the things that I really love about this lens is the fact that it's super sharp. It's sharp, you know, wide open. You can shoot wide open and you'll get beautifully sharp pictures. Of course, you need to have a bit of good technique. You know, you want to sort of have a good steady hold of your camera. You don't want to be a shaky sort of person, and it's probably not for the sort of person who's running around and wants to, you know, take shots, you know, one-handed and hoping for the best. But, you know, a bit of good technique, you know, camera elbows into the body and, you know, nestled into the face, and you'll get really, really great results with this lens. And of course the appropriate shutter speed, which in this case would be around, I would say probably you'd want around a 90th or an 80th of a second at least. Probably 1/25th is safe. Yeah, I would definitely say 1/25th or above if you can with this lens, or else use strobe. Okay, so ergonomics, it's quite long with the hood on. It suddenly becomes a much bigger lens. Without the hood on, it's a really small little lens, probably about as big as the 35 1.4 if you've got that. But with the hood on, it becomes a whole new beast, and it looks quite big and menacing, although inside you've just got that little tiny 39mm cap, which is a fiddly little painful thing to put on. So like I said, I'm just going to repeat it again. The image quality is tack sharp and right up there with the best of Fujifilm cameras, as you'd expect. And, you know, even shooting wide open at 2.4, you're not going to have any problems with this. And that, you know, leading into what I primarily use this lens for. I don't really use it for macro photography, although it's quite good for, you know, taking close-up shots. But what I really like this lens for is for people shots. It's a small little lens and it's super sharp. 2.4 is a good aperture to get, you know, if you're doing like a chest and above shot, or even a head and shoulders. Okay guys, sorry about the change of scenery. I just had a audio problem outside, and didn't realize until I started editing. Anyway, I'm going to continue on with this review. Yeah. For me, it's an ideal sort of portrait lens at a 90mm equivalent and f2.4, which probably becomes about an f4 equivalent when you're converting it to full frame. And that sort of depth of field on that sort of view gives you a nice effect. It's a good safe range. It'll get the face in focus, and it will still give you very nice blurry background. I like the size of the lens. It's very compact little lens, you know, it's only so big and you can put it in your bag easily, take it with you. It's light. It doesn't take up, you know, any room. It's easy to use, easy to handle. Balances well on most Fuji cameras, and yeah, it's not a problem to use. What I dislike is the fact that my version broke. What else do I dislike? I dislike the fact that I'm not a particularly big fan of the Fujifilm Aperture Ring. I find it a little bit loose, a little bit easy to knock. Sometimes I'll find myself at an aperture that I don't want to be at, simply because I've held the lens and sort of slipped it a little bit. It sort of will click over one or something and I'm not wide open where I want it to be. But, you know, again, that's just me again, having a little whinge, but it's no big deal. And of course, one of my likes in counteraction to that is the sharpness of this lens, which is so sharp. And of course, the other advantage of this particular lens is the fact that it's a macro lens, well, quasi macro lens. It will go very close to your subjects. You can get very close and tight shots of small objects. And of course it doubles up as a great portrait lens, which a lot of macro lenses do, I must admit, not just this one. So that's my review of this lens. I would recommend it if you can find one secondhand or, you know, at a discount price from Fuji. Perhaps they're offering cashback or something like that. I would not recommend that you go and buy this lens at full retail, as I've noticed that this lens lately has been selling for around $700 or $800, well, in Australia anyway, and I think that's way too much for this lens. I would go and spend a couple of $100 more and get one of the other macro lenses from Fuji. I think they offer better quality, and if you really want to do macro photography, that's probably the better route to go down. But as far as offering an alternative, or a cheap alternative, if you can find one cheap, a good cheap portrait lens, I would highly recommend it. You're going to get great results and you will not be disappointed. Like, I don't think you'd be disappointed really with any Fujifilm lens. Build quality is good, but I think there are variations and a little bit of dubiousness there. So anyway, that's just my experience, and thank you very much for watching, and like and subscribe if you like this, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.